The early 1980s world was cleaved in two. Two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, stood toe-to-toe. This was the Cold War. It was a war of ideology, suspicion, and an ever-present chilling threat. Both sides built enormous arsenals of nuclear weapons, enough to destroy the world many times over. This was the era of mutually assured destruction, or MAD. The tension was a constant hum beneath daily life. People lived with an awareness that global catastrophe could be moments away. A misunderstanding, a technical glitch, a rash decision, any of these could ignite the spark. Leaders spoke of peace, yet their actions often escalated fear. Military exercises were conducted close to borders. New, more powerful weapons were developed and deployed. Spies were everywhere, or so it was believed. Trust was almost non-existent between these global giants. Every move was scrutinized, every statement analyzed for hidden meanings. This period saw several flashpoints. The Cuban Missile Crisis was one such moment. But the danger did not disappear after that. It lingered, a dark cloud over humanity. Systems were built to provide early warning of an attack. Satellites watched from above, radars scanned the skies. This was the precarious stage upon which our story unfolds. Enter Stanislav Petrov. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Soviet Air Defense Forces. On the night of September 26, 1983, he was the duty officer. His post was at Serpukhov 15, a secret command center south of Moscow. This was the nerve center for the Soviet Union's Oko-nuclear early warning system, a system of satellites designed to detect the launch of ballistic missiles from the United States. Petrov was an engineer by training. He understood the systems he was monitoring. He knew their capabilities and potential flaws. He was described as an independent thinker. This quality, perhaps, was not always appreciated in the rigid Soviet military structure, but on this particular night it would prove to be of monumental importance. He was simply there to do his job, a job that involved staring at screens, interpreting data, and making life-or-death decisions. The early warning system was relatively new. It relied on satellites detecting the infrared signature of a missile launch. When a missile blasted off, it produced an intense burst of heat. The satellites were supposed to pick this up. Then, the information would be relayed to command centers like Serpukhov 15. From there, it would go up the chain of command, ultimately to the top leadership of the Soviet Union. The protocol was clear. If an attack was detected, a retaliatory strike should be launched immediately. Petrov's role was to analyze the incoming data and confirm whether an alert was genuine. The night began like many others at Serpukhov 15. The shift was routine. Suddenly, just after midnight, the calm was shattered. A piercing siren blared through the command center. Red lights flashed. On the main screen, a stark warning appeared. Launch. The system was indicating that a single missile had been launched from the United States. It was heading towards the Soviet Union. This was the moment every officer in that bunker dreaded. The ultimate nightmare scenario was unfolding. Panic could have easily taken hold. The protocols were drilled into them. Report the launch immediately, confirm the threat, prepare for retaliation. The men and women in the bunker looked to Petrov. He was the commander on duty. His face, illuminated by the flashing red lights, must have shown immense strain, but he needed to remain composed. He had to think. Was this real? One missile? It seemed strange. A first strike with a single missile? It did not fit the expected pattern of a full-scale American attack. Just as Petrov was grappling with the implications of a single missile, the situation escalated dramatically. The system sounded another alarm, then another and another. Within minutes, the screens were showing not one but 5 missiles. 5 intercontinental ballistic missiles, all apparently launched from the same US base, all heading towards Soviet territory. The computer system upgraded the threat assessment. It was now unequivocally an attack. The electronic maps showed their trajectories. The sirens wailed louder. The tension in the bunker became almost unbearable. This changed everything. A single missile might be an error, a provocation. But 5 missiles? This looked like a coordinated strike. This was the pattern they had been trained to expect. This was what mutually assured destruction was all about. The system was screaming that the attack was real. The protocol was even clearer now. Report it immediately. There was no time to lose. The leadership needed to know. They needed to launch the counterattack before the American missiles hit. Every instinct, every piece of training pointed towards one action. Petrov's subordinates were frantic. Stanislav Petrov was an analyst. He was trained to look at data, but he was also human. He possessed something that computers, no matter how sophisticated, did not: intuition. A gut feeling. And his gut was telling him that something was profoundly amiss. He later said, "I had a funny feeling in my gut." This funny feeling was perhaps the most important feeling in the history of the world. He considered the source of the data. The Oko satellite system was new. It had been rushed into service. Petrov knew it was not perfect. He was aware of its limitations. He also knew that ground radar systems had not confirmed any launches. If missiles were truly in the air, multiple detection systems should be corroborating the information. The satellites were the first line of detection, yes, but where was the backup? Where was the confirmation from other sources? This lack of corroboration was a significant red flag for him. The seconds stretched into an eternity. The fate of the world hung in the balance. Petrov had to make a decision. He had two choices: follow protocol and report the missiles, or declare it a false alarm. The safe option was to follow protocol. He would be seen as doing his duty, but if it was a false alarm, the system would be blamed. If real, and he did nothing, catastrophe. The pressure to conform was immense. Declaring a false alarm was risky. Against the computer, his subordinates, his training, if wrong, the Soviet Union would suffer. The consequences would be beyond comprehension. He would be branded a traitor. Yet his intuition told him the system was malfunctioning. He had to trust that inner voice. After what felt like an age, Petrov made his call. He picked up the phone to his superiors. The minutes that followed Petrov's report were perhaps the most tense of his life. He had made his call. Now he had to wait. Had he been right? Or had he doomed his country and possibly the world? If real missiles were indeed streaking across the sky, they would soon be detected by other means, or worse, they would begin to detonate. The bunker remained on high alert. Every eye was fixed on the screens, on the communication lines. The silence, after the cacophony of alarms, must have been deafening. Each tick of the clock would have felt like an hour. Slowly it became clear. No missiles arrived, no detonations occurred. Ground-based radar systems, which had a shorter detection range but were considered more reliable for confirmation, showed nothing. The skies were empty. Stanislav Petrov had been right. The sophisticated multi-million-ruble Oko satellite system had indeed malfunctioned. Later investigations revealed the cause. Sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds had, in a rare alignment, mimicked the infrared signature of missile launches. For over a decade, Stanislav Petrov's story remained a secret. It was buried deep within classified Soviet military archives. He lived a quiet life, eventually retiring from the military. He never spoke of that night. The world owed him an immeasurable debt, but the world did not even know his name. He was an unsung hero in the truest sense of the word. He had saved millions, perhaps billions of lives. Yet he walked among them unrecognized, carrying the weight of his incredible secret. It was not until after the collapse of the Soviet Union that his story began to emerge. In the late 1990s, General Yuri Votintsov, a former commander of the Soviet Air Defense's missile defense units, published his memoirs. In them, he revealed the details of the 1983 incident and Petrov's crucial role. Slowly, the world began to learn about the man who had prevented a nuclear war. Journalists sought him out. Documentaries were made. He started to receive international recognition for his actions. He received several prestigious awards, including the Dresden Peace Prize in Germany and the World Citizen Award from the Association of World Citizens. These accolades acknowledged his calm reasoning and his courageous decision under unimaginable pressure. Yet Petrov himself remained humble. Stanislav Petrov's story is more than just a dramatic Cold War tale. It offers profound lessons for our modern world. It highlights the critical importance of human judgment, especially in an age increasingly reliant on automated systems and artificial intelligence. Technology can be a powerful tool, but it is not infallible. It can make mistakes. And when the stakes are as high as global survival, we need human oversight. We need individuals capable of questioning the data, of thinking critically, and of making decisions based on reason and intuition. This could be called the Petrov principle. The incident underscores the terrifying fragility of peace during the nuclear age. A single glitch, a rare atmospheric condition, nearly triggered an unimaginable catastrophe. It reminds us that the weapons of mass destruction that still exist today pose an ever-present threat. The possibility of accidental war, through technical malfunction or human error remains a stark reality. Petrov's actions bought us time, but the underlying dangers have not entirely disappeared. His story serves as a constant warning. His legacy is one of quiet heroism. He demonstrated that one person acting with courage and integrity can indeed change the course of history. He was not seeking fame or glory. He was simply trying to do the right thing in an incredibly difficult situation. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel.